Deputy Clare Daly on behalf of the technical.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Taoiseach, I wonder, are you aware of the fact that the foremost authority and author on road traffic legislation in Ireland has stated that there is nothing in legislation to allow senior Gardaí to cancel any penalty points, and that what he calls secret decisions behind closed doors being made by superintendents without any authority in road traffic acts to allow them to do this is a frightening situation, an affront to the basic premise that the law is supposed to be conducted in public. And I'd have to say that not only is that his informed opinion, but it is something that is supported by deputies on this side of the House who've repeatedly asked the Minister for Justice to specify the precise legislation which he believes gives the power to senior Gardaí to terminate penalty points. And as of yet, we have had no answer to those repeated questions. So, in that context, I wonder, would the Taoiseach share our surprise that the Minister for Justice, who we believe hasn't yet seen the report of his own internal inquiry, has yet already concluded that one of the key recommendations of that report that he hasn't seen is that pulse access must be restricted to rank-and-file Gardaí. In other words, the conclusion of a report which was initiated on foot of evidence which verified information that rank-and-file Gardaí had about malpractice by senior Gardaí, that the conclusion of that report is that no such rank-and-file Gardaí will ever have access to that information again. In other words, that the only people who can see what senior officers are doing will be senior officers. You couldn't make this stuff up, Taoiseach. And I wonder, could you tell us, is the Minister deliberately trying to make sure that there will never again be a Garda whistleblower? Where is the protection for people who put their necks on the lines to try and unearth malpractice, as they were encouraged to do by the Minister when he initiated his whistleblowing system? So I'd ask you, Taoiseach, how can we have any confidence in an internal inquiry conducted by the Gardaí into themselves when, before it started, the Commissioner said there was no basis to the allegations, and before it concluded, the Minister said that the solution should be to gag the whistleblowers? Could the Taoiseach tell us on what basis is there legislation which allows Gardaí to terminate penalty points? Is it not time to launch an internal inquiry? Otherwise, who is guarding the guards?
Taoiseach.
You've raised 2 points there, Deputy Daly. First of all, in respect of whistleblower legislation, a comprehensive piece of legislation covering the entire range dealing with whistleblowers or passing of information will be published and passed in the House later in the year, which will cover the entire spectrum. In regard to the report that you mentioned, this report has been prepared by the Garda Commissioner for the Minister for Justice. As I speak, I can't answer you whether the Minister has actually received the report as of yet. If he hasn't, he's due to receive it shortly. The report will be published in full. The report will be debated here, and I'm not going to comment on reports that you have of what might be in the report. When the Minister has the report, we'll publish it, debate it here, and give everybody their opportunity to have their say on it.
Thanks, Taoiseach. I didn't, of course, make any comment about a report that has not yet been published. That would be entirely inappropriate. The questions that I raised related to comments and speeches made by your Minister for Justice and points that he has already ascertained. So I'd like you to deal with the issue that I asked you, whether you think it's appropriate that the Minister who's commissioned this report, which allegedly nobody has seen, has already concluded that there should be a removal of access to Pulse. You didn't answer the question I asked you, which was, what is the legislative basis that gives Gardaí the power to terminate fixed charge penalty points? And when you answer this one, this time round, you might pay reference to the fact maybe that you might think it's significant that the 2010 Act removed the right from judges to award the Probation Act precisely because it would mean that penalty points could be terminated, and that is a practice that shouldn't be done. So why then do you maintain, and on what legislative basis do you maintain, that Gardaí have this mythical power?
You're quite well aware that really it's not a function of the Taoiseach or any minister to interpret the law here. The report that you refer to is one prepared for the Minister for Justice by the Commissioner of the Gardaí. As I said, when the report is in the hands of the Minister, it will be published and debated here. And the questions that you raise about points of law or points of legal basis in regard to penalty points or any other matter, with Pulse and all of these areas, are ones for discussion in open session here in the House.